Okay, next thing. I first heard her speak at a mayor's prayer breakfast a few years ago. She speaks at women's conferences and other conferences all over our land. She's a nationally recognized speaker and author. She was a guest on Focus on the Family yesterday, and she changed her travel plans to be with us tonight. She has 41 followers on Instagram and 41,000 followers on Instagram.
Somebody.
333,000 Facebook likes. She's a champion for parental rights. She's running for Congress, and she really does not need any other introduction. Let's put our hands together for Mrs. Heidi St. John.
Hey, how you guys doing? I am as scared as heck. I'm going to tell you that right now. Everybody's like, how many PCO meetings you been to? None. This is my first. I appreciate the warm welcome tonight. I have learned a few things in the last couple of days. If you need to kick a Facebook addiction, run for Congress. They're already printing things about me that are just patently false. So I decided not to check Facebook for a while, and I feel better already. Do you guys feel better? Yeah. I decided let's stop watching the mainstream media. That's going to happen right away, right? I want to introduce you guys to myself. My husband Jay and I have been living in the Pacific Northwest for all of our married life. We've been married for 32 years. We have 7 children, I know, and 3 grandchildren. And yes, and I love this country. I was introduced to politics by my grandfather. He took me campaigning for Ronald Reagan, and I'm a Reagan conservative through and through, and he taught me that our country is worth fighting for, it is worth speaking up for, and conservatives in this nation have taken a backseat to the Democrats for too long. And I'm here tonight to say it is time for us to get off the bench and onto the battlefield. Many people have asked me why I'm interested in running, and to be perfectly honest with you, there were a lot of reasons for me not to run. Most people know that when you throw your hat in the ring in politics, politics is divisive, and we go immediately from disagreement to demonizing in this nation, and it needs to stop. The truth of the matter is we are a nation at war with ourselves. And what I'm learning right now, as I begin to move into the political sphere a little bit more, is that we've got to change the conversation, and it has to start right here in Clark County. It has to start tonight. And so as I've been thinking about how to present myself, I'm getting all kinds of emails. Say this and say that. And I'm getting all kinds of emails talking about what I should say and what I shouldn't say. And I got a different kind of email too. Those emails said, hey, I want to be sure that you don't hang out with this guy, because if you do, you won't get our vote. Want to be sure that you're not seen with so-and-so, because if you do, you're going to anger people in the Clark County Republican Party. And if you do that, you're going to lose. I got more of those emails than I cared to count. And as someone who's relatively new to politics, you guys, and I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, I am so excited to be doing what I'm doing. We have got to do better than that. I've been spending a lot of time praying about what the Lord would have me say tonight. And I wanted to let you know that my decision to run for Congress was not made lightly. My husband and I prayed about it. We got our kids together. All 7 of our kids are adult kids, and we called my friend Liz Pike, and I said, I want you to tell my kids everything that there is to know about running. And she scared the living daylights out of them. And I was like, this is great. Now I won't have to run. And my kids were like, you know what, Mom, you were born for this. And we're going to support you every step of the way. My husband and I have been starting businesses here. We run the Firmly Planted Homeschool Resource Center. We have been opening businesses for about 20 years now, and I know a thing or two about what it means to raise a family, what it means to keep a promise, what it means to shelter children, and what it means to be an advocate for families. And there is no one in Washington, D.C. advocating for children right now. No one. The reason that our schools are in the situation that they're in is because we have people in Washington, D.C. and here locally who do not understand the devastating damage that is happening to our children in the name of the woke Democrats and the progressive left of this nation. And someone needs to stand up and say, that's enough, no farther. I'm appalled to see that congressmen and senators go to Washington, D.C. for what I have always believed. My grandfather told me that when we go to the United States House of Representatives, it's a relay race. It's a relay race. So we go for maybe 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, and we're always looking behind us. Who are we going to pass the baton on to? But what's happening is we're going and we're staying there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and the people that are there right now are so out of touch with what's happening here in the 3rd Congressional that they don't even know what we're struggling with anymore. And I want to change it. I want to go to Washington, D.C., not because I don't have anything better to do, but because this is a war, and we need to step up to the plate. Wars require sacrifice. I had a wonderful conversation with my friend Joe Kent, and we talked about this country. He loves this nation as much as I do, and he agrees with me. Republicans have got to come together and be unified, and if we can't do that, listen to me, if we can't do that, we will lose in November. And we won't just lose the seat that Jaime Herrera is currently occupying right now. We will lose more than that. This is a battle for the soul of America. And it's going to require people standing up and telling the truth and being willing to get out there and take fire. And I was telling my friend the other day, I was talking to a whole bunch of women last Thursday night, and I said, one of the things that terrifies me the most about getting out in front of this thing and throwing my hat in the ring, when I've got grandchildren here and children that I love to be with, my husband and I live up by Battleground Lake State Park. There's no place we'd rather be than the Pacific Northwest. And so the reason we would go to Washington, D.C., and the reason we would serve this country is because our country is on the brink of collapse. Our country is suffering from a disease, and that disease is socialism. Marxism is at the door of the United States, and we need to stand up and say no more. And it's not just enough to say no more. We got to start turning it back. Back to the principles that the founders started this country on. They labored in prayer over our Constitution. They labored in prayer so that we could have freedom. And we're watching the Democrats take our freedoms from us one piece of legislation at a time. I was amazed to find out, I'm leaving tomorrow for Virginia because I had a previous engagement there. And I was amazed to find out that when a few people called from Washington, D.C. to see if I could set up some meetings, Nancy Pelosi has basically issued a proxy vote telling the legislators not to come to Capitol Hill. The legislators, the people that are supposed to represent you, are not even meeting and debating in the open anymore. They're doing it on Zoom. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick of Zoom. I'm sick of Zoom. I'm sick of Zoom. For me, running for Congress is a wartime appointment. And I'm not going to stay for 10 years. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to be going and I'm going to be saying, Lord, help me be a voice, help me move the needle. I am so sick and tired of people going to Washington, D.C. and absolutely doing nothing. We had the House, we had the Senate, and we had the White House, and we did nothing. We did nothing. Why are we doing nothing? You see, the Democrats and the Republicans are different. Yes, they are. You guys are my people, I can tell. When the Democrats get power, they do something with it. When the Democrats get power, they do something with it, and what they do is to take away your freedoms. They want to take away your right to bear arms, for goodness sake. They want to take our education system even farther into the abyss than it already is. And it's making me sad to watch what happens when Republicans get into office and we lack the moral fortitude and the courage to say, we've got an idea and we're actually going to push it forward. It was astonishing to me to watch Republicans run for the hills when President Trump tried to get something done. And I was watching, I'm like, we sent you there to represent us. The most amazing thing about this country is that we have a representative form of government. That means that anyone can run. That means that even Heidi St. John, a woman who's been raising children for 30 years, can run for office in this country. The Democrats parents want government health care. I remember when Obamacare was instituted. How many of you guys remember Obamacare? Remember when they said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor? Guess what the first thing was that happened to the St. John family? We lost our doctor. I'm tired of being lied to. We all know that government health care is not the answer. And the private sector in this nation needs to stand up, and I want to be a voice so that your voice can go to Washington, D.C. and be heard on the floor of the House of Representatives. It's interesting to me to note, as I'm watching what's happening in our nation, that families have found that they have lost their voice. I went for several months to Olympia, and I began to talk about what's happening in our schools. If you guys aren't familiar with comprehensive sex education, you need to be. It'll break your heart. I went to Olympia at 3 o'clock in the morning and stood out in front of the state capitol in freezing weather with 200 of my very best friends so that we could have a voice in Olympia for the children. They don't have a voice unless you give them one. I brought that voice back to the Battleground School Board and was appalled to find out that even though I met with these people in private, when push came to shove, they threw the children under the bus and pushed an agenda forward that will do nothing but harm our children for generations to come. Our kids need to have a voice. I am a strong proponent of education and reform in education and parents having control over what happens to their own children. If you don't like what's happening in your schools, take your kids out. And the money should go with your kids. The money should go with your kids. As a mother of 7, I can tell you right now, my oldest daughter, Savannah, is almost 30 years old. And we are often watching what's happening in the schools with a fair degree of dismay and frustration because the children in this country have lost their voice, and I intend to go to Washington, D.C. and give it back to them. I only have one more thing to say. I was thinking about what I want to leave you guys with, and that's this. It's very simple. I can stand up here all night long and tell you about my platform. Everybody's asking me. Seattle Times is asking me, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? We all know they don't care because they're going to run a line anyway, right? Yep. I want to remind you guys tonight that a house that's divided against itself cannot stand. We need to work together. We need to say, okay, we might disagree about this over you guys. My husband was a pastor for 20 years. I can tell you all kinds of things about working in a church. Lord, save me from your followers. Y'all are a little like a church. Like we got denominations over here, and we got a denomination over here, and we don't like each other over here, and you guys believe in baptism for the remission of sins. You guys, oh no, we're sprinkling. And so now we don't talk to each other anymore. That's got to stop. It's got to stop. We need to come together. I think we can agree that our nation is worth fighting for. Can we agree? Yep. I think we can agree that socialism is something we never want to see implemented in this nation. Can we agree? Yeah. I think we want to agree that the Second Amendment is worth defending. Can we agree? Yeah. If we can agree on those things, if we can agree that we love our children, if we can agree that life is worth protecting from the unborn to the most vulnerable among us, this country discards the very young and the very old. And it is a scourge on our nation. Can we agree that life is precious? Yeah. Can we agree? Yeah. So guess what we learned tonight, you guys? We agree. We agree. We need to work together. I've been so encouraged. I've been hearing from these guys all week. They're writing me and calling me and trying to encourage me and talk me down off the limb, which they're doing repeatedly now. But if you guys are interested in helping me out, I'm going to need your help. And in the back of the room, you're going to find my girl Tiffany, and she's got a clipboard, and they've got envelopes. I'm going to need help. I have been working in the nonprofit sector. There's Tiffany back there, you guys. Look at her. She's so beautiful. Love that Tiffany girl. She's got a clipboard. If you're interested in helping us put up signs, you're interested in fundraising, you're interested in getting on board with what we're doing, or at least staying in touch with me, or praying for me, golly, I'd sure appreciate it. If you guys are interested in doing that or donating to the campaign, please go back and see Tiffany when this is over. You guys, I love this country, and I think it's worth fighting for. Do we agree? Yeah. We agree. Thank you very much.